call on Mayor Pro Tem Gonzalez for a motion, and it is in front of you. And Councilmember, since we just approved Councilmember Adams substitute, Councilmember Laster substitute, we're going to have to do a little housekeeping before we pass the CIP. So, Mayor Pro Tem Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. And it is a table amendment to agenda item 38F. It's been submitted in writing, and I previously made mention of it. I moved that item 38F be amended to authorize the city attorney in consultation with the finance department director to make technical corrections to the fiscal year 2014-18 capital improvement plan adopted by city council, including as to any improperly categorized projects and funding sources. In order to comply with existing law and city ordinances, the city attorney shall make such corrections within 10 days of the adoption of the CIP, and such corrections shall then become part of the CIP as it contained therein at the time of adoption by council. Obviously, we've made our legislative intent known. This is simply just to indicate what new funding sources we're going to be using, and changing some of the things, particularly what we heard from Councilmember Laster. We'll make those necessary changes.
And thank you. And Councilmember Adams will have the word Edgewood Park in the CIP. Further discussion? Moving to a vote. Favoring, opposed, amendment accepted. Ms. Russell.
And
I'm sorry, there's another table amendment. Councilmember Green.
Yes, Mayor, and this is for agenda item 38F, and that is I move that FY 14-18 CIP be amended to include pre-engineering for fondant reconstruction from Creek Bend West Airport, with the understanding that construction of this segment will be considered for the FY 15-18 CIP. This is just a technical amendment with regard to streets fondant in my district, and I ask support for this amendment.
Thank you, Councilmember, and the department and the city. This is essentially you're moving money on your CIP on the same street, and you're changing the segment of the street that you wish to cover. Chair recognizes Councilmember Pennington. No further comments. Moving to a vote on the amendment. Favoring, opposed, amendment carries.
okay, now we're down to item 38F. It is a prior motion that was to adopt the CIP. The motion will have to be written as amended by the prior motion.
Councilmember Costello. Councilmember Laster, point of order.
I just noticed that, do we have two items that's listed as 38F, and I just wanted to see if there might need to be a distinction on that. I think Councilmember Green's most immediate proposal was 38F.
I moved to amend intended, and we got the intent of it.
Do we need
No.
another letter?
It's the language that is critical.
Right, thank you.
Councilmember Costello.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and colleagues, I'm going to support the current CIP. I just want to talk briefly to everyone about the portion of the CIP which is relative to Rebuild Houston. And for several years now, I've advocated for the Rebuild Houston program to concentrate in the neighborhoods working out towards the major thoroughfares. And I know that the Oversight Committee has had several discussions with Public Works representatives on that particular issue. And currently, the current CIP is structured to where the allocation for Rebuild Houston will be 60% major thoroughfares, 40% neighborhood streets. And I would like to encourage, as we move forward on Rebuild Houston over the next 10 years, particularly, where the program will go from over $100 million in street repairs to over $500 million, that we focus more on the neighborhoods. And there was a recommendation by the Oversight Committee to try to focus that reallocation sometime before 2018. So as we move forward in subsequent years, I would like my colleagues that will be here on council to try to ensure that we reach out into the communities and get more money in the communities. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Green.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, let me just thank Councilmember Costello for that. Obviously, we too have been monitoring all the Rebuild Houston meetings, and with regard to the allocation, with regard to major thoroughfares and versus the neighborhoods. And, you know, the taxpayers essentially are financing this particular relocal use and effort. And so they live in neighborhoods. And so we really need to make sure that we're listening to the people who are financing this particular effort. And like I always say again, you know, with major thoroughfares, there's assistance from TPC, with HGAC, state, as well as federal dollars that we can use for major thoroughfares that we couldn't necessarily use for neighborhood streets. And so we are aggressively going after those dollars as well. I think we can find a balance, but I do think that we really need to look at that allocation relative to neighborhood streets versus major thoroughfares. And moving forward, hopefully, we'll be able to do that. Thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, Councilmember Pennington.
Oh, I really haven't had a detailed discussion with Public Works on how they made the allocation. But I know in District G, the major complaints that I get are about the thoroughfares. They're the most heavily traveled streets, the streets that everybody travels, whether it's Kirkwood or Briar Forest or Dairy Ashford or whatever, Woodway. Those are the streets that I hear the concerns about. Even though we have a large number of streets in the neighborhoods that are in the red, among the worst 10 in the city. So I don't think that your proposal is a drop-dead proposal. I think it needs thorough vetting and discussions. In some areas, it may be better to do neighborhood streets. In other areas, it may be better to do thoroughfares. You know, I think it's a subject for discussion, and again, shouldn't be made on the decision should be made. And I don't know that anything we do here this morning is binding on Public Works, but I think we ought to have a more thorough discussion about it before we decide what to do. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, we'll move to a vote on the item. Favoring, opposed, item carries.